a fourth year in mechanical engineering department, and I'm interested in robotics in general. So um, I just get started with throwing a brief about our technical details, and then uh, we could dive on to like why should you join and what's the sort of experience or value addition that you get from Inter IT. So um, maybe this is yeah. So the problem statement that I was reading was the DRDO. Uh, Piyush, my screen is visible, right?
Yeah, yeah, screen is visible and
Okay.
audio is also
Yeah,
clear.
sure. Great. So the problem statement which I was heading was given by DRDO. So the foremost thing to note about Inter-IT is that the problem statement is directly given by the defense, by top industries. In our case, it was DRDO itself. And when you're finally pitching your solution, it would be to those industry experts that you would pitch your solutions. So ours was by DRDO, and it was obstacle avoidance for unmanned aerial vehicle using computer vision applications. So uh, to get a feel of problem statement, it was a tunnel with which was full of obstacles, windows, uh, and things like that, and we had to encounter this using just one camera, which was attached the uh, in front of our rover, you can say, of our drone. And as you know that cameras have restricted field of view. I mean that if you have a camera here, you can't see all the way to the left or to the right. You just have a restricted field of view. So you might not be able to see, like, if you that's a major challenge, that your field of view is restricted in this problem statement. And our approach, maybe you won't get it for like if I say in generic terms, the approach would be that you search for obstacle. Okay, you look where the obstacle is. That's like obstacle detection. And once you have detected the obstacle, you try to avoid the obstacle. Okay, that's the specific thing that you do. What if what you sense in front of you is just obstacle and no path? Then you need to perform some sort of search maneuver, because your field of view is restricted. You don't just say "Ki, yeah, I just see obstacles, that means I need to just rest and abort my mission." You need to look for path. So that's like a search maneuver. So this is like a flow diagram that you create for any problem statement. The first was obstacle detection, the next was avoidance. If it's just obstacle, you try to look for a path, that is search maneuver. And then from here, what you get is a decision, like where what should I command to my drone, and then you command the same to the drone. There's some black box which does that task. Suppose you have said to your drone that, hey, go to an altitude of this much, go ahead by this much. So there's some black box which will implement that for you, and this entire framework will repeat again. So this was some sort of a algorithm which we devised. I'll skip this because this is too much into the details of the problem statement. So again, this is like computer vision application for those who don't understand. Don't worry, because I've seen many of you are from freshy batch, so don't be bothered about it. But for others, I'll just brief that we the camera which I mentioned was a 3D camera, so it had like in 3D camera, along with the image, you also get a sense of depth, like how far is the object from you. So these gray shades indicate that sort of depth. Like zero indicates a very large depth, while black indicates very near to you. So we wanted to look for more of white region in the image that we get. We need to look for white region. And there are certain filters in image processing that we have applied. Why? Because you just need to think about your problem statement. What you see from your camera, it could be ground, it could be cloud also, I mean, which is very far away, so you don't want to go there. So that is why you applied some sort of filters and or constraints to the actual image before you do some actual finding or actual algorithm on that scene. So this was some sort of those things. And yeah, you could see that the final output that we generated, like we got some image and then we were able to pinpoint where should our drone go. That was the black point that we have. Now once we were able to pinpoint that, we know that in what direction we need to proceed. and that was the task of that black box that I was saying, that yeah, you can tell me where do I need to go and that will directly take me there. Again, for freshies, you might not know about PID controller, but for others, yeah, once we had that final position to go, we did not give it directly because it could have an error. So we used a PID controller altogether to finally let this run in a simulation world. Again, a simulation world is basically a virtual world where you're trying to generate the real world as realistic as possible. I mean, there could be wind blowing in your virtual world. There could be forces acting similar to what it will act in real world due to friction, due to wind, or due to any other forces. So that's what simulation does, and this entire project was implemented in simulation because of the pandemic restrictions and things. At the same time, I mean, uh, with having a front camera, we also had a downward facing camera. This was for like, in the entire maze, there is an indication. You can just assume that there is an indication towards the end of the tunnel, which says that yeah, you have reached the tunnel and you need to mark, you need to land exactly here. So this is this sort of QR code that you see. This is not exactly QR code. This is an Aruko marker. This Aruko marker is widely used in robotics application, which has like sense of direction and position. So you just sense this and you land on top of this. So for that we had another flow which was running. It that also used a PID controller. So ways like this was the set of algorithm that we used for the search maneuver that I was saying, you guys. This is the, I guess somebody has unmuted. Is there a doubt?
Excuse me, sorry to
Yeah, yeah,
interrupt you. May I ask you something? Yeah.
yeah,
So the mail was about Inter IIT's diaries. So is this regarding Inter IIT diaries? I think you are
yeah, yeah,
explaining
yeah.
about something.
So
Yeah.
I'll just go like 5 to 7 minutes about what technical things that we did, and later on it will be about experience and why should you join and all that. So it's just a brief so that you know that what sort of technical expertise you would expect. So it's gonna be a combination of both. This is just an overview. I'm not going very deep into the presentation. That is why. Just an overview.
Uh, so is this for UZ? Since I am a freshie UZ, so that's why I'm
Yeah,
asking.
that's why I kept mentioning that freshies might not bother a lot about this, but for others who might want to know that what sort of knowledge would you expect, I thought of considering including this also. But yeah, this is gonna
Oh,
go for another 2 minutes only, and then it will be more about what was my experience and how did we, what all did I learn from that.
okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, carry on. I'm here.
Sure.
Thanks.
Sure. So earlier I mentioned that yeah, there was a search maneuver sort of thing. So this was the logic that we devised for that. Like again, if for everything that you do, you just define sort of a flow, and once you have the flow, then it's very easy for you to code the same. So that was our agenda, and this was a final. Like there are certain things while you're brainstorming on a solution, you think of something, you think of implementing something, but the time doesn't allow you to implement the same. So this was one of that. Like we thought one step ahead, but we couldn't devise the same. We couldn't implement the same, which was sense of progress vector. It was like if you're going in a certain direction, then in the next step you would know that yeah, I was going in the same in this direction. So the next direction that I take should not be very much away from this. It could be plus minus 10 degrees, but not like plus minus 90 degrees. Like I was going straight, then it shouldn't be like suddenly I'll change my direction by very huge margin. So that was sort of an idea. It's something similar to state estimation, if any one of you is aware of that. Um, I guess yeah, this is pretty much what this a very overview of the technical details that we covered, that we did in our problem statement, that was DRDO. So that was about our technical details. If you want to know more, yeah, you can I'll just send a link to the PPT later on, and you can go through it. You can ping me in person. Now, coming to the next few things that we are here for, like what did I learn from the inter IT experience that I had? So, when I was a part of inter IT team, at that time I was a 30. It was around almost a year back. I mean, 9 months, around 9 months. Yeah. So at that time, had before that I was very much involved in mechatronics, which is like building actual mechanical, building like devising mechanical designs using CAD softwares, and then uh, finding out the stress, iterating over the same mechanical design, and had initially just started with ROS and getting into the automation part of the robotics. So this PS gave me the opportunity to work with some other seniors in IT who are uh, who had done a lot in this field. So this was an overall very great experience for me in terms of robotic automation, where I got to work with the senior that if I could state his name, it was Siddharth Saha, Arya Nagal, and others. So they were the ones who had worked a lot in this field, and working with them as a team had a lot of learning for me in terms of my coding skills, the skills of how to use ROS for different applications, which I use till date for different competitions. The next thing up there was because I was the team lead for that particular problem statement. And when you're leading a particular competition for which you got the problem statement 3 weeks before the deadline. So in that more or less 2.5 weeks that you have to select a team from a whole bunch of like the entire batch size. If I consider Freshie, Sophie, PGs, everyone included, maybe about more than 6,000, out of which hundreds could be 100 of them could be interested. So out of those, you have to select a few that are good for your problem statement. So that's a nice experience to have to work in 2.5 week with your core team, day and night, to get something implemented. And that's something which carries a way ahead, like when you implement any sort of thing, if you have an immediate deadline. So yeah, you learn to do that. Then managing your members, I mean, in those 2.5 weeks you want to do a lot of things, and along with that your academics is also going on. So it's sort of, I won't say that it's a bad deal. It's a very great deal that although it in usually inter IT is arranged around that time when the academic loads is not that much, as in you won't have midsems or endsems coming around. So if you could manage to spend a week or two with slightly getting less time for your other activities, I mean generally for your recreations or anything like that, then yeah, you can be part of a problem statement of a relevant problem statement and contribute very much to letting your IIT win a medal or gain some recognition, which does matter a lot because the QS ranking that you see before getting here is all because of that sort of. Then why should you consider being a part of Inter IT? This was all again about that. So I mean, one thing which I started with was that this problem statement was given by an industry expert. So okay, it's okay that you solved a problem statement which was given by industry, but the time when you get to pitch it before the industry experts themselves, who would have seen a problem statement similar and would have seen the same PPT from the top college, like all the top IITs will be a part of this. So they would have seen solutions from other IITs also, and then how they judge your understanding of the problem statement, how they judge your approach, and give you with feedback that helps you a lot in your future projects. You get to know that, yeah, this was my thinking process, and I could have revised it in this way to get it done better. The next is that you get to know what industry actually wants. So when you're working on such a problem, such a similar problem statement, you know that yeah, industry is wanting something like this. So the next semester the next few projects that I'm gonna plan is gonna be in similar domain. For me, it was similar. After having worked on this problem statement, I knew that yeah, industry wants this also. So I started taking projects and courses related to that to make myself uh, available, to make myself relevant to industry's requirement. And again, yeah, the value which it adds to your technical expertise, the value which it adds to your group, the circle which you interact with. So working for 2 weeks very closely with your team does make a very strong bond, and this goes a long way because remember that you would be working with some seniors who are actually very good at this. The ones who will be leading your PS would be the ones who would be the most probably the best, one of the best guy in IT Bombay in that field. So getting to work with him or her, getting to develop a bond and then continue that forward is also another perk of being a part of Inter-IT team. Um, to tell you more, I guess, yeah, I've boasted enough maybe. So I'll let the floor be open for questions. I didn't see chats a lot. So,
Hello.
Akshat, yeah, 1 second. So Pranav had asked a question like, in addition to single camera, can we use sonar sort of technology? So Pranav, the main challenge in our competition was that we had to use just that one camera. I mean, in when industry is providing with your problem statement, it's very descriptive, like to the last detail that you want to do this with this only. So that was sort of our problem statement, that you want to solve this particular maze, you solve this particular tunnel with obstacles just using the one RGBT camera that we have given you, nothing else. So that was sort of a challenge that we had. uh, how can you handle wind problems? So that I didn't go into details, but that was done by Autopilot. So Autopilot is a package which has been developed as an open source package which is used for controlling drones. And when you provide it with some altitude and tune Autopilot's PID controller, it does the job for you of managing any sort of disturbance that it creates on the way. All this is taught in ITB clubs. Um, mm, some parts of it is taught in ITB clubs, and the rest depends on like how many projects you participate in and how active you be throughout your stay at IIT Bombay in different competitions and problem statements. Yeah, I guess I have answered the questions in chat now. Anyone can unmute and ask.
Yes, so you mentioned something about a downward facing camera. So
Yeah.
was it a second camera or was it used for controlling altitude or?
No, it wasn't used for anything of that. It was used for sensing the landing zone. So the landing zone was a Ruko marker, and because once you reach the end of tunnel, you have to know that you have reached the end. So they gave us with a downward facing camera, which could be used only for sensing the landing zone, nothing else.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh, Hello, Shubham. Uh,
yeah. Hello, Pratik.
yeah, how did we estimate depth using a single camera?
I mean, that single camera was a depth camera, right? So it was giving you some sort of depth information. So using that depth, we could know, yeah. I mean, if you have, say, like if you have a wall in front of you and there's a window in that, so that window is going to have a larger depth, right? Because there's nothing in front of that. So the
Yeah.
camera was giving us a white sort of whitish area in the window region and blackish area near the wall region. So we needed to sense sort of the boundary of that blackish whitish thing and go towards that.
So camera does have a depth information with it.
Yeah. The front camera had a
Okay.
depth information.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any prospect of you competing internationally for this? For like a
Honest,
drone making competition, like?
I mean, not exactly this, but this computer vision sort of application could be a part of a bigger problem statement. But just this would be a good enough thing for an international competition. But it could be a part of a bigger problem statement for sure.
Right.
IARC, if I remember correct, is also a drone-based competition where similar computer vision application does help you.
Right.
Any more questions related to technical details or my experience, or you want to know anything other than what I spoke about?
What sort of programming languages do you learn to use this computer vision sort of thing?
We did everything using Python, and most of the filters that we implemented was using OpenCV.
Okay, okay, okay.
What sort of advancements you are planning on this? Like, have you thought something apart from that curve fitting thing as well?
Curve fitting, sorry,
Like you were telling about that vector thing, right?
so there's a progress vector, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
Professor.
so what we're thinking of, like, if we could keep a track of what all points we have gone through, and yeah, we fit a curve through that, get a tangent vector, so we know that yeah, we are proceeding in that direction, and this would be used for two things. One is that in which direction should I go next. So this current direction gives you one weightage, and what depth camera point is giving you is gives you another weightage, and by deciding the weightage of deciding how much weightage do you want to give to each of these individually, you could come up with a new direction in which you want to go to. So that's what a sort of idea that we were thinking of, because this would also help you make sure that you don't all the way turn 180-degree and go again back towards from where you started with. So this was the two main reason why we thought of having a progress vector sort of thing.
Yeah, so it's something like that. You would, if you had to do a 90-degree turn, or so you will, distribute it over several turns, several small turns. Is
Yeah,
it
I
something
mean,
like that?
it won't be a sudden turn ever. It would be slightly
Yeah,
always.
right, cool.
I mean, in ROS, what happens is like there's a particular frequency at which everything is happening again and again. So that frequency was about 20 hertz for us, I guess. Yeah. I mean, all our filters were basically getting processed in that time. So yeah, at 20 hertz, you were generating new commands every time. So this
Do we
entire
have to
thing was,
make
yeah.
do we have to make the drone from the scrap, or it is
No, no.
already?
So this was a simulation-based project, and the URDF, like the description of drone, was given by DRDO themselves. We just had to implement the algorithm for avoiding obstacles.
So it was a online. I mean, you
Yeah, yeah,
didn't actually
online.
make it.
Yeah, it was an online competition where it was based on simulation. We implemented the entire thing using ROS and Gazebo.
Okay, so you gave just a solution, but you didn't implement it in real life like that.
So, I mean, virtual. If you're able to implement certain algorithm in virtual world and it works perfectly fine, you can be 95% assured that in real world it will work good for you.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
How can freshers contribute in this? How much do you expect from us?
I mean, see, the only thing which we expect from every participant in Inter-IT is technical contributions. Okay, so if there's a problem statement with related to which you have prior experience, and you feel that you can really contribute towards devising a solution to the same, then you can apply for that.
I think we can start with session 2 and then these questions can be clubbed together at the end.
Yeah, sure, that would work.
Yeah.
So the next
What kind
speaker
of
would be Nakul. Uh, Sorry.
what kind of technical skills do we need to acquire for these kind of
I mean,
competitions?
that depends. That depends on problem statement. Again, yeah, as Nakul said, let's go with the second problem statement, and then maybe together we'll answer these common questions. So, Nakul, it's over to you.
Yeah. So, hello guys, I'm Nakul. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. Uh, Currently, I'm in my 4th year in aerospace department, and last year I was team lead for Agrobot challenge, which was organized by RuTag. And RuTag is a rural technology action group. So they are the ones. It is some initiative started by group of IITs together and funded by DST, and they together aim to modernize the agriculture in the rural parts of India. So let's start with basics again. What is Inter IIT? So Inter-IT is simply some prestigious IITs competing with each other to get the trophy. It is something similar to what Olympics is to countries, or F1 is to some good car companies. Similarly, we have Inter-IT. And this is really very prestigious. We have Inter-IT sports, tech, culturals. And last year and this year as well, unfortunately, the Inter-IT tech part was and will be online. Earlier, we used to go to whatever the host is, say IIT Guwahati or IIT Roorkee, and we used to build all these problem statements over there and present the things there. So that was some different kind of experience. But for now, given the pandemic situation and the other constraints, they have planned online competition. So Inter-IT Tech was started, I think we had Inter-IT Tech's 10th edition last time or 9th edition something. And this simply tries to involve students to work on real life problems pertaining to local, regional or global issues and areas which require attention of we as engineers. So, and these are real life problems. As already mentioned, these are given by industries themselves. They have big sponsors, big collaborations, and they come up with problem statements. And we need to work on those problem statements, and we are judged on that. So what do we have in general is one part is problem statement, other is we have some coding hackathons, then we have poster presentation, and then we have case studies. These are four major pillars within each Inter-IT Tech, and you can choose to be part of anyone, whichever interests you. So the project I worked on, I'll take you there now. It was the Agrobot. So Agrobot design challenges, we were given a problem statement which included some of the tasks which this Agrobot was supposed to do. We had transplantation. Transplantation is simply there is a plant, you need to pull it out and transplant it at some other location. So one is transplantation, second is weed removal, third is maneuverability in complicated terrains. We were the region where this Agrobot was supposed to be used was hilly terrain, mostly the northeast, and a seeding meter, which is you need to plant the seeds into the soil and keep a proper count of it. So these were few of the major pillars which we had to design in our robot. And what, given this was online, what we had to do was we had to make the CAD designs, we had to analyze them, we had to simulate what our designs were, and show them the simulations of the same. And at the end, present our entire design to the jury, which consisted of some like really good people. Some of them had their own startups in this domain. Some of them were professors from these departments which are related to rural technology development and other industrialists. And we had to present them the proposed design we have. So we came up with designs. I won't go into details here. You can visit the GitHub repo where all the designs of all the projects of the Inter-IT are uploaded. So, and you can definitely ask me questions regarding these. So this was the project I worked upon, and being me as the team leader for this, what we had to do was we were given a time frame of 3 weeks. We had to again recruit people. We worked for over 2 weeks, consisted of around 5 or 6 night outs where we were simply working entire night on Google Meets. My meetings used to span around 16, 17 hours at a stretch. So that is the amount of involvement you need to put in. And so from the experience, I could say that my team consisted of few MTechs, so some postgraduates, some undergraduates, and within them there were few people who had already worked on such projects. So we had a lot of expertise in the team, in the team itself. So apart from this, we also approached couple of professors in order to understand what exactly is this problem, what exactly do we need to bring into the designs, what does the industry require here. So it's not related to some post project or something where you are given some problem statement and you come up with design, you copy some friend's code snippet or design, and you're good to go. That is not how it is. You need to think from the customer perspective. And this is not something which we do generally here. We generally just stick to what we already know and search things online and do it. But here you need to go out of the box, because that is industry there. They need to see good solutions from us, and they expect good solutions from us. And during the presentation itself, you can watch other IITs coming up with mind-blowing solutions for simple problems and some really elegant solutions, and you get to learn a lot from that. So the experience during making this robot was a lot of night outs, a lot of work, a lot of brainstorming, and designing, scrapping the design, analyzing them, running ANSYS, ADAMS, multiple simulation softwares throughout the night. And at the end, we had a really good product with us. Using it, so when we had the product, we had the presentation ready, we pitched our design to the senior members within IIT itself. So there have been a couple of startups from IIT who work in this domain. So we reached out to them, and even they had participated in Inter-IIT before us. So they already knew the feeling behind coming up with your own design and things. So they helped us with few of the additional facilities which we could put into this. And after that was the actual presentation, where we had to showcase it to the jury. That was online, sadly, but that was good. We got feedback from not only jury, but from other members who do come to watch these inter-IIT presentations, who are not directly related to any of the IITs, but they just wish to see what technology we want to bring on the table. So we get feedback from them as well. And lastly, we have connection sessions where you get to connect with other people from other IITs who are working on similar things or have similar interests, or in general, just lukha kaatne ke liye baatein karo, those kind of things. So the experience was pretty good. And did we win? So yeah, we had the bronze medal. IIT Bombay contingent got the silver medal last year, which was a pretty big thing, given the competition is with really good IITs who do prepare a lot for these inter-IITs. And we definitely wish to keep the streak continuing. We are aiming for gold. We should definitely aim for gold. And for that, what we need is good participation. So all these projects which are already here, they come up with, when they are coming up with such questions, there definitely has to be a good design approach to it. And if we devote proper time, proper energy, and brainstorm it with your group of people working on this, then definitely you will get a good solution. So it is not difficult to win this, but you need to have the enthusiasm to do the thing, and you need to give in proper time and energy during that critical phase of 2 or 3 weeks. That is important. I think I'm covering the gist of the topic here, which was Inter-IIT Diaries. You can definitely ask me the details of the project. And given we have a lot of freshies here who seem to be pretty enthusiastic, it might be a little bit technical, but we are open to it. That is also fine. So I'll wrap up with here, and now we are open to questions in general. Okay, there are a few of the questions here on the chat box. One is this only for mechanical engineering? So there are different problem statements for Inter-IIT. Few of them have image processing, simulation, these kind of things. Few of them have designing kind of thing. Few of them are totally related to say battery management system or thermal management system. So they focus on some of the areas, and there are various problem statements. You'll get enough to for your appetite. You'll get enough problems here, and you can choose whatever you wish to. So for the Agrobot, what it focused was, it focused on the design innovation and the cost, given it will be used for rural purposes. So we need to come up with innovative designs given the constraint of the cost, and had to analyze it. So analysis played a major role, where we had to develop simulations to show how does the seed metering actually work. How does the seed fall into the ground? How does the gripper open, dig the ground and close it back again? All of these were simulated, and the designs were shown to them. Any other question? You can ask generic questions as well, just things related to Inter-IIT. And one more thing, this is so the Inter-IIT, it's not only for UGs, this is for PGs as well. And we do welcome in general people from all streams, whether it is IDC or PG or UG. Yeah, sure. For timeline, I'm not sure for this year's timeline. Shubham, do you know this year's timeline, or someone from ITC?
Yeah, this year's Inter-IT will be in January from 28th to 31st.
You can have a look at this GitHub repo. This repo has all the proposed designs and solutions for all the problem statements for last Inter-IT Tech Meet. And these are this repo has everything what you need. And for the freshers thing, the thing is, for Inter-IT, we have very crammed up timeline. It's around 2 or 3 weeks. So we have recruitment, we have interviews for those problem statements. And in case you are an appropriate fit for the problem statement, you'll definitely be considered for the team. So there have been few freshers who, but really few, who took part last year for poster competition and some other competitions. Yeah, so generally the PS are 3 categories, as you said: low prep, mid prep, and high prep. And as the name suggests, it depends on the complexity of the problem statement. High prep problem statements are released a couple of weeks before the competition, before the Inter-IT actual meet. So you get larger time frame to prepare for those. And then within a week or so, mid prep are announced, and the low prep are sometimes announced just a couple of days before the Inter-IT. And this simply is the complexity of the problem statement and the amount of points allocated to each of those problem statement. So the higher prep will have higher points associated with it as compared to the low prep problem statements. So for ROS, you already have ROS tutorials. ROS is open source, and those people, they have really good repository and in general discussion forums. They have good tutorials as well. So for ROS 1, you have all of it. And for ROS 2, given it is pretty new, they are developing tutorials for that, but there are few existing tutorials for ROS 2 as well. So you can go through them. Apart from these, there are some courses online on Udemy, but those are paid courses as far as I know. But the tutorials by ROS community itself gives a lot of learning. Yeah, and ERC is conducting the Frosty thing as well, right? ROS 1 and ROS 2, you should definitely Google this thing. Those ROS 1 had some limitations due to which ROS 2 was created. ROS 2 is better for swarm robotics and stuff. And the limitations are the ones covered in the ROS 2. Plus ROS 2 is available on wider platform. It is available on Windows, Mac as well. But there's nothing better. You need to choose what is better for your project. But anything related to inter-IT here. You should definitely look into the case studies as well. Those are pretty interesting. It's like you're coming up with some startup idea and solving the entire thing, whether the product is feasible in the market, what would be the revenue you generate, what would be your target audience and everything. So there is something to interest everyone in inter-IT. Yes, you can. I've shared this repo. Just a minute, I'll share the main repo. For the recruitment, there'll be email sent to your LDAP account, and there can be some assignment or something. There can be simply interview. There can be your statement of purpose why you wish to be part of this team, and some form where you need to state the previous projects related to the project you're signing for. And the recruitment is pretty chill. If you have the expertise, or not even expertise, if you are even a beginner in that, but you show good enthusiasm in learning it, you are ready to devote the time required, then you should be in. Any more questions? You can reach us anytime. You can reach us on any platform, like Facebook or anything. If you need to know more details of the project we worked on.
Yeah, if you have any questions, like you can ask now.
Oh, so I meant you can reach us on Facebook or something. Yeah, or Teams, like, okay, that is also fine.
Yeah, I do check Teams, so instead of any personal message on WhatsApp or something, you can just ping me on Teams. That works best for me.
I think it covers whatever we wanted to tell all of you regarding inter-IT and our experiences. If you have any more questions, you can ping us on Teams or on Facebook. So, Piyush, do we end now?
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot, Nakul and Shubham, for coming. It was very resourceful session.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we
my
can
pleasure.
yeah.